Yeah.
No, I just didn't see you. Have you been here for a while?
Good morning, and welcome. Excuse me. Welcome to the Cough Church. Good timing. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Buffalo, whether you're here in person or watching us on YouTube today or maybe some other day. Whoever you are, whether you're rich or poor, old or young, gay or straight or whatever the color of your skin, your gender identity, or your ethnic or religious background, you are welcome here in this community of hope and possibility. Whether you're a long-time member or a medium-time member, or whether you're here for the first time, even if you just came to this corner for the art festival and then discovered most things don't open till 11, so you decided to drop in here just to see what goes on at this church, our community is richer and more complete because you are here. And we are blessed to be here together, to share truths, stories, and spirituality in this beautiful place which sits on the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee people, who continue to call for justice and self-determination. I'm Fran Manley. I'm a member of the Worship Associates Ministry team, serving as your worship associate this morning. It is my great pleasure to be sharing this space up here with our favorite rabbi, Jonathan Freirich, who will have words of wisdom for us shortly. And we're especially happy to have with us Aaron Alexander, our guest who you just heard, our guest soloist, a teacher at the Clarence Middle School. But this is what she's doing today. Our thanks go out to all the people on site and behind the scenes who help make this service possible. Our indefatigable tech team back there, taking care of the sound and sending out our service out to the world on YouTube. Our beloved musicians, Chris is here today along with Aaron, the food ministry team in the kitchen, all those you see and hear, and those who are in the background, but we couldn't do it without them. I'm going to highlight just a couple of announcements. I will mention this again after the prayer, but our beloved gatekeeper, Sarah Kirkland, is in Kenmore Mercy Hospital with breathing issues. Please keep her close in your thoughts. And there is a giant get well card to sign in the parish hall. So when the service is over, be sure to sign the card. This Thursday, there will be something called Lifeline screenings going on right here in the parish hall, testing various kinds of medical screening tests that we all need from time to time. So you are invited to come for that if you want. This Thursday from 9 a.m. to 5. Pre-registration is required. You'll find out how to register. You'll find a link for that in your e-blast if you have it, or on the website, which is another place where the e-blast is. Your health is your most valuable asset, so you want to protect it. Shakespeare fans, I learned this from the e-blast. John Snodgrass will offer a talk on mythology and ecology in Shakespeare's Macbeth today at noon, 12 p.m. in the Alliance Room. He describes his talk as a playful glance at the medieval magic of royalty. There is a lot more happening at the church, and it would take this whole time if I spoke all of it. So I want you to read it in the weekly e-blast. If you don't get the e-blast, I think there are printed copies by both of the doors, and you can also find it on the website, buffalouu.org. Just open the website, scroll down a little bit, and right in the middle is a link to take you to the current e-blast. And I think if you want to get the e-blast by email and you're not getting it, I think you can sign up at the membership table out there, so check that out. Now, let's take a moment to deepen our connections with our old friends and create connections with some new ones by greeting our neighbors. And remember, if you prefer to sit quietly in your seat and just listen to the happy buzz, it's always time to do that too. And also a good time to check your cell phone and make sure it's silent. Go. Who's got the rabbi? Get that out of your way. You don't Don't need that.
Good morning, everyone. What an honor to be back with all of you. Thank you, Fran. I'd reiterate all your thank yous, but as you said, we have other things to do. So I heard that the theme for the month of August was actually abundance. And I heard that no one's talked about it yet. Is that true? So I figured I would for those of you who know me, not necessarily follow what everyone else does and actually follow the theme. So this poem is by Kiara Gilberg, and I have links for any of my sources if you want to see them later. This is called A Poem from the City. I write this poem from the city, where stars hardly flicker, buzz of cars are crickets, the only ecosystem we earned. Skies clear on good days or bad ones thicken with haze that leaks into our lungs, leaves us wheezing, but this doesn't stop our chanting. This city is our forest, sputtering factories, our fires. This city is our coastline. This city is our world, and even concrete jungles die or live. This pavement blossoms with children each name this city home. The future must be better. They've dreamed it. We've scratched this poem on the concrete. Look both ways before you cross it.
We are doing a little bit of experimentation with our chalice lighting, so we have different words today. Please find them in your order of service. Please rise for the lighting of the chalice. And let us read these new words together. With the kindling of this flame, we reaffirm our commitment to accept our gifts with grace and gratitude, and to use them to bless the world in the spirit of love. And please remain standing as you're willing, and turn to hymn number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth. I guess I could leave that right there. Each week, we take a good portion of our Sunday offering and give it away to a local social justice program. Our August Share the Plate recipient is Open Buffalo. Open Buffalo's mission is to advance racial, economic, and ecological justice through skill building, network connecting, and activating leadership opportunities. Their goal is for all communities in Western New York to thrive free from discrimination and poverty. You can read a little more about them in the e-blast and a lot more about what they do on their website, openbuffalo.org. As always, you can make your offering in the way that works best for you, right now in the collection plate, online by going to buffalouu.org and clicking on the donate button. However you choose to do it, let us be grateful that when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for all those who share their gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. Let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we can learn from the generosity of others. In the spirit of gratitude and generosity, we will now give and receive the offering.
Yesterday
Thank you so much for that. I didn't imagine I would be so touched by hearing Circle Game, which I first started singing and memorizing as a young person in Jewish youth groups some time ago. And now as the parent of a 10-year-old and a 17-year-old and anticipating college applications for the 17-year-old, I am particularly touched not just by the passing of time and the carousel, as it were, but also the abundance and trying to hold on to it and explore it all at once. So with that, my reading today is from a commentary called Torah Queries, which is a deliberate pun. It's query spelled Queeries, and it is literally about querying some of the commentaries on Jewish scripture. So the selection is reflecting on this week's Jewish scriptural reading, which is from Deuteronomy chapters 11 through 16, but the opening lines are from chapter 11, verses 26 through 28. In the opening lines this week, this is from this commentary, Moses shares both a blessing and a curse with the Israelites. The blessing, provided that you hearken to divine commandments, and I command you today, and the curse, if you do not hearken to the divine commandments and turn aside from the way I command you today. Jews, as you may know, regularly debate in accord with the teachings of this reading whether we can add to or adapt or subtract from those numerous divine commandments. There are 613 commandments enumerated in the 5 books of Moses for Jews, not just 10. And we have a long history of living in the ways that do not necessarily literally follow the words of those commandments or scriptures, and a long history of justifying exactly how we get to do this. Back to the commentary. That was my commentary on the commentary. This is the thing that I'm reading. Mentions Joseph Albo, who is a 15th century Jewish scholar. That's 15th century, so not some sort of wacky modern person. Joseph Albo wrote, quote, "It does not necessarily follow that a divine law cannot be changed. The Torah, the 5 books of Moses, merely warns us not to add or take away from the commandments on our own account. But what can there be to prevent God's self from adding or diminishing as God's wisdom decrees?" Unquote. Albo is not suggesting that we should rewrite Jewish law as we see fit. He also does not call on people to reject all interpreters of text, but only those prophets and dream diviners out for their own motivations. Rather, he says that prophets may come along from time to time, and we should remain open to their insights, and that the ideal prophet is someone not advocating on behalf of her or himself. Albo's point is that we should not reinterpret Scripture on our own account. Alas, this reading of Albo suggests that only those already with power can effectively and honestly advocate for those without it. Not the most satisfying conclusion to draw from this reading. But if we read Albo's quotation to the end, we see that the true prophets are not simply those with the least to gain, that is, those who already have power and privilege and thus do not need to gain. Prophecy is about social justice and the divine creative inspiration because, as Albo says, how can one prevent God's self from adding or diminishing? So, social justice advocates and activists and queer Jews advocating for rereadings of text also recognize that their hard work today benefits the next generation more than it does themselves, thus holding up Albo's command to be working on account of others.
Have a deep breath or two. And check to make sure you're sitting in a comfortable position. I've noticed anytime I say that, everybody moves a little bit. So I don't know why you were all sitting in an uncomfortable position before, but seems to be the case. When we're talking about abundance, when we consider the abundance of our lives, the only real response to that is gratitude. And so I invite you to share these words. As Meister Eckhart long ago said, if the only prayer you say in your life is thank you, that will be enough. For the sun and the dawn, which we did not create. For the moon and the evening, which we did not make. For food, which we plant but cannot grow. For friends and loved ones who we have not earned and cannot buy. For this gathered company which welcomes us as we are, from wherever we have come. For all our free churches that keep us human and encourage us in our quest for beauty, truth, and love. For all things which come to us as gifts of being from sources beyond ourselves, gifts of life and love and friendship, we lift up our hearts in thanks today. We hold in our hearts this morning all the people in war-torn areas, especially in Ukraine and the Middle East, and pray that our leaders and theirs may find the strength and wisdom to find their way to peace. And now let us fill this holy space with the names of friends and loved ones, suffering in pain and sorrow or celebrating in joy, starting with our dear gatekeeper, Sarah Kirkland. We hold in our hearts all of these, and those unspoken, held close in our hearts in a silence too deep for words. So be it, blessed be, and let the church say, Amen.
Thank you both again. So, I realize I'm speaking a lot more Jewishly than I have in the past, so I hope that you're not, upset that I didn't have like another political constitutional sermon, but I figured I'd mix it up. So there's a classic Hasidic story. In the town of Anipoli, there were two rabbis. There was Rabbi Zusia, the Chassid, sort of the folk rabbi, and the town rabbi. Rabbi Zusia was always happy, despite the fact that he had nothing but troubles, poverty, and ill health. The town rabbi, the head rabbi, on the other hand, despite his honorable position in the community, was always unhappy, depressed, bitter, and angry. He couldn't bear others, nor even himself. One night, bitter and frustrated, the town rabbi, this chief rabbi of the town, went to Rabbi Zusia for help. He sneaked out of his house at an hour when nobody would see him and secretly made his way to the hovel, which Rabbi Zusia called home. When he arrived, the lamps were still burning, so he knocked hesitantly. Almost immediately, Rabbi Zusia appeared at the door with a smile and an invitation to enter. "How is it that you are so happy and content, and I am always angry and cursing everybody?" asked the bewildered rabbi. "Let me give you an example," offered Rabbi Zusia. And this, by the way, is a typical Hasidic storytelling framework, right? Somebody comes with a question and somebody says, "Oi, ich habe ein Meister. I have a story for you to tell." And this story is, of course, about him. Take the wedding of Mr. Moses' daughter. When Mr. Moses, the local philanthropist, made a wedding for his daughter recently, he dispatched a messenger to personally invite the special citizens of Anipoli. When the messenger came to your house, you demanded to see the guest list. You saw that you were 14th on the list. "Chutzpah," you shrieked, an outrage, and decided that you would attend but come late. When you arrived, all the guests were sitting at the tables already and eating the festive meal. When you arrived, there were no empty places to be found. Soon, Mr. Moses, the philanthropist, saw you looking for a place to sit. "Rabbi," he called out, "where have you been?" They brought you to the head table, but there were no more empty places. They brought you a chair, but you sat behind somebody else. You were furious, looking for somebody to lash out at, but nobody was really paying any attention to you. The waiter didn't even see you. By the time the host noticed that you weren't eating, all the food was gone. Mr. Moses went into the kitchen to find something, but it was not a portion befitting the rabbi of Anipoli. Everything had already been picked through. By this time, you were cursing the host and the waiters and the guests and even the bride and the groom themselves. When it came time for the grace after the meals and the 7 blessings to honor the bride and the groom, you had all but been forgotten. You went home broken, angry, and bitter, cursing the master of the world, the divine self. When the messenger came to my home, to the home of Rabbi Zusia, Zusia always referred to himself in the third person, Zusia was taken aback. What a kind gesture! Mr. Moses is inviting Zusia to the wedding of his daughter. What has Zusia ever done to deserve an invitation to this wedding? So Zusia went 2 hours early to the wedding. Zusia asked what he could do to help to set up. Zusia officiated at the ceremony. Zusia ate a full meal. Zusia was honored with grace after the meals, and Zusia recited the 7 blessings to honor the bride and the groom. You see, Rabbi Zusia continued his explanation to the rabbi of Anipoli, you wanted everything, but you ended up with nothing. Zusia didn't ask for anything, but he got it all. It's almost impossible to be generous when I see myself as lacking what to give. And when I am not able to be generous to myself and to others, the world gets smaller and smaller. There are fewer and fewer possibilities, and I paint myself into a corner. Seeing the abundance around us seems like it should be easy. Rabbi Zusia's message of, I expect nothing, and so I appreciate anything, feels like it could be a snap, easily accessible for all of us. And yet, life tends to get in the way. So many times I have made a big decision by boiling the options down to 1 or 2 or 3. These are all I've got options. At major intersections in my life, I often work diligently with my life partner to express something like, okay, we've gotten here, and we can do this, or we can do that, but we must choose. We force ourselves into either-or decision options when the world is filled with possibilities. We are fortunate, and still we forced ourselves into these types of corners. When we arrived there, we didn't feel lucky at all. We felt coerced, like there weren't any options at all. This is where most people are because contemporary life is often not so fortunate. It's often filled with needs that overwhelm any options. Our American society forces us, especially those of us who struggle with resources, to choose between the lesser of 2 evils, or 3 evils, or 4 evils, or more all the time. Which of these bills am I going to pay? Will I go to the doctor, or buy groceries, or pay rent? I can't afford them all. Rabbi Zusia seems to be a happy person struggling with poverty, but let's admit, Rabbi Zusia is in a story and not in our lives. So what happens if we turn this around by seeing our options, our ability to be generous, especially to ourselves, more clearly? My life partner and co-parent recently pointed out that I was being difficult with one of our children. Irritable, demanding, unrelenting, and for really no good reason. I was, in fact, doing all of this. So I began to work on it, mostly from the spirit of being the parent I wanted to be in the moment. I want to be loving and giving and supportive. These are the attributes that I've been aiming for, so it took me prioritizing, thinking about how I could best do these things before engaging or reacting to our child. You know, sometimes we need to engage the breath work, as you started us out with today, engage the filter before we react. I come from an immediate family, my family of origin, of a lot of irritable people. Nobody else here has that, I see, right? You know, this idea that we ought to be able to sort of let our irritability out when we're at home, it's not very generous to the people around us. So I work really hard against it. And I was working with our child on this, thinking, how can I be the generous, loving person first? How can I be the supportive person, the parent that my child needs me to be in this moment, as opposed to how come we're not getting there fast enough, or doing things, or things are not clean enough, or whatever else I am reordering, right? Parenting well like this is one of my top priorities, so I have to constantly do that rethinking, managing to live into that spirit. There was, however, no switch to flip, right? It didn't happen immediately. There's nothing that suddenly says, okay, I'm thinking well now, everything's smooth. There's only the thoughtful work and the slow process of trying to get better. Just this weekend, I was chatting with our other child, the one who's 17, about life choices in college, and I wanted to help them have a more expansive view, to not get caught in these either or, must do this or must do that false dichotomies. I want them to have a really expansive understanding of the horizons that are so wide in front of them. And let's be clear, adolescents don't do this well, right? Young people are more prone to tunnel vision on anything than the rest of us. And so helping a young person figure out how to say, oh, I'm not just stuck on this one thing or this other thing or this one obstacle, but there's all of these other things. I think that it's become one of my central missions with regard to this particular person. So we were talking about this, and we realized how this may be supported by our own tendencies towards pattern recognition, towards making understandable sequences out of the terrifying randomness of the universe, right? This is what fuels conspiracy theories, right? There must be a rhyme or reason to a whole panoply of random facts, and therefore I'm going to come up with some theory that unifies them all, when in fact the universe is just big and filled with random stuff. So we want to make things understandable. We want to make things easy. We want to make things blacker and whiter because gray is so complicated. So this leads us to making simpler choices out of infinite possibilities. Faced with the scary immensity of everything, we will often attempt to make it all simpler. And that comes to our choices as well. The scary immensity of everything, though, is also the awe-inspiring infinity of the universe. There is a real close connection between seeing clearly how wondrously immense something is, on the one hand, and being terribly frightened about how we might be crushed by it on the other. Maybe abundance is working to live in that place of awe and expansive possibilities instead of fixed ideas that distance us from both the awe and the fear. We need to work on living in the perspective that there is more than we could possibly know, and that this is an inspiration. Trying to be inspired by the vastness of our lack of knowledge as opposed to fearing what that implies. Can we do that? Can we be inspired by an entirely open, as they say, Overton window, as opposed to intimidated by it? While also extending generosity to those facing challenges that make looking for better possibilities more difficult. Remember, we have a luxury of seeing more possibilities, and we who can do that, we need to offer grace to the majority of the world who are truly constrained by an all too narrow and unforgiving reality. If we can breathe and see ourselves to a better place, that means we are already advantaged in some way. Yes, we want to live with a sense of abundance, but we don't want to make decisions based on a scarcity mentality. Yes, we want to embrace the generosity of spirit that Rabbi Zusia showed. And yes, we need to accept that there is a significant degree of advantage, one that everyone has a right to and so few can access, that allows us to shift focus from the immediacy of our needs or perceived lack of choices to an abundance of possibilities. And so let's find some blessings together. May we find awe instead of fear. May we find generosity instead of narrowness. And may we create lives of abundance for ourselves, for our neighbors, and for the world. Thank you all.
I invite you now to pick up your gray hymnals again, rise in body or spirit, and let's join in singing hymn number 209, O Come You Longing Thirsty Souls. Please remain standing as we say together the words for extinguishing our chalice. These have not changed. As we extinguish the flame of this chalice, may we carry its light with us into the world in the power of peace, faith, justice, and love.
This is a poem by Amy Schmidt, who wrote it in honor of Mary Oliver. She said about Mary Oliver that she wrote as one who noticed. Read any of her poems and you will see that she missed nothing. No detail was too minute to be seen, studied, or loved. Through her poems, she has convinced me that we, as poets and humans, can't afford to be anything other than wide awake, facing each day with an unflinching eye, willing to see everything and give thanks. I wrote this poem in her memory. Abundance. It's impossible to be lonely when you're zesting an orange. Scrape the soft rind once and the whole room fills with fruit. Look around. You have more than enough. Always have. You just didn't notice until now.
La